was 1952, the date October 16. India was fresh from its first ever general elections. The country was raring to go, so was their cricket team. Their challengers came from across the border, from Pakistan. They would play in New Delhi at the legendary Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium, or as it's called today, the Arun Jaitley Stadium. The match would go down in history books. It was the first ever encounter between India and Pakistan. Funnily enough, it was also Pakistan's debut, their first ever match after partition. I know what you're thinking. Who won? Team India piled on the runs in the first innings. We made 372 runs. It was too much for the Pakistani side. They could only manage 302 runs in 2 innings, so India won a massive victory. But Pakistan struck back in Lucknow. That's where the second test was held, in Lucknow, and this time Pakistan piled on the runs. They ended up winning by an innings and 43 runs. But beyond the result, this match was important for another reason. It was a sign of things to come. India's team bus was attacked by the fans. Rumour has it that Captain Lala Amarnath took matters into his own hands. He wielded a lathi to save his players. So now the pressure was on. India won the third test match in Mumbai, but the final 2 tests ended in a draw. Both teams played too defensively, possibly out of fear. India won that series in 1952, but it made one thing clear. This would not be your ordinary sporting rivalry. This would be something for the ages. And how has that rivalry played out? Time for a flashback. Cricket, as you know, was invented by the English, but Indians perfected it. We have turned it into a multi-billion-dollar industry. How did that happen? Cricket came to the Indian subcontinent in the 17th and 18th century. British sailors and traders used to play it. Gradually, Indians picked it up. They were not allowed to play in the matches. Instead, they were used for practice. I'm sure you've seen net bowlers today. Most Indians were recruited for that, to keep bowling at English batsmen. The Indians who did play were the wealthy ones, like the Maharajas and Parsi businessmen. They organized themselves into clubs or gymkhanas. They also played abroad regularly. These teams were made up of Indians, but they were not Team India. That moment would come in 1932. An official Indian team went on to play a test series in England. We waited 20 years for our first victory. The rest, as they say, is history. And Pakistan plays a key role in this history. A major reason for that is the partition. Everything in British India was divided. The people, the railways, the bureaucracy, and yes, the cricket team too. Most Muslim players chose to settle down in Pakistan. Only some of them stayed back, like Syed Mushtaq Ali. India's domestic T20 tournament is named after him. Some of the players who left India were part of the 1952 series. Let me pull up the team sheets. This is from the first test match in New Delhi. Pakistan fielded 2 players who once played for India, their captain Abdul Kardar and spin bowler Amir Ilahi. Abdul Kardar had made his debut for India in 1946, Ilahi in 1947. Remember, this was undivided India. But 5 years later, they were on the opposite side. I know it sounds surreal, but wait till you hear this. In the first match, India fielded a batsman called Gul Mohammad. But in 1956, he migrated to Pakistan. He ended up playing 1 test for his new country, Pakistan. Such stories are unique to India and Pakistan. Yes, other players have represented 2 countries, but they lack the political context. It's not as emotional or intense as India-Pakistan. After 1952, it was India's turn to tour Pakistan. We went in 1954. 5 test matches were played. All 5 ended in a draw. Then in 1960, the Pakistan team returned to India. Again, no winner. 5 matches played, all 5 ended in a draw. From 1961 to 1978, no tours were organized. India and Pakistan fought 2 wars in this period, one in 1965 and another in 1971, so no matches were played. But cricket resumed in 1978. By then, the ruling regimes had changed in both the countries. The wartime parties were out. Team India toured Pakistan for 3 test matches. Pakistan won 2 of them. It was their first series victory against India. Now, you may have noticed something. All of these were test matches, the oldest and the longest format of cricket. But now we are entering the 1980s. It came with a new and exciting format, one-day cricket. It was pacey, it was riveting, and it was done in 8 hours. From the 1980s to 1999, India and Pakistan played a lot of one-day cricket, and soon some stars emerged. like Sunil Gavaskar and Kapil Dev for India and Imran Khan for Pakistan. Indians hated how good Imran Khan was, and Pakistanis hated how good Gavaskar and Kapil Dev were. But there was mutual respect. And in the 1980s, the corporate world began to notice this. So what did they do? Well, what do companies do with cricketers? They made advertisements. Like this one from the early 80s. It had Gavaskar and Imran Khan promoting a soft drink. This brief period of cooperation had a major benefit. The World Cup came to the subcontinent. Until 1987, there had been 3 World Cups and all 3 were hosted by England. If you lived anywhere else, tough luck. But for the 1987 event, India and Pakistan lobbied together and they succeeded. The World Cup was shifted out of England for the first time. It was jointly hosted by India and Pakistan. But the era of cooperation did not last. We are entering the 1990s now. One man would come to dominate this decade in cricket, Sachin Tendulkar. He made his debut against Pakistan in Karachi. He could have enthralled Pakistani fans, but their government had other ideas. During this time, Pakistan's deep state was plotting terror attacks on India. They were also fueling the insurgency in Kashmir, so cricket suffered. From 1989 to 1997, India did not tour Pakistan, nor did Pakistan come to India. Instead, they played in neutral venues, like in Sharjah or Toronto. These matches later became cult classics. One reason for that was all the aggression, like the 1996 World Cup quarter-final. India's Venkatesh Prasad was bowling to Pakistan's Amir Sohail. Sohail hit Prasad for a boundary. He then pointed his bat to the boundary ropes. It's considered an aggressive gesture in cricket. The next ball, Venkatesh Prasad bowled him. As commentators say, the perfect reply. By 1997, bilateral cricket resumed. India toured Pakistan for a short one-day series. The next year, Pakistan came to India, and this time it was tense. Both countries had tested nuclear bombs. Here in India, some political groups opposed Pakistan's tour. They dug up the pitch in New Delhi, so the first test match had to be shifted to Chennai. But India's Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was defiant. He said, Pakistan must come. He also promised them full security, and in the end, the tour was a success. Anil Kumble emerged as a big star in New Delhi. He picked up all 10 Pakistani wickets in one innings. But India's goodwill was not repaid because months later, Kargil happened. Pakistan occupied Indian positions along the line of control, so once again, cricket suffered. No bilateral series were played until 2004. Around this time, Prime Minister Vajpayee was pursuing peace plans with Pakistan. He realized cricket was a powerful tool. Saurav Ganguly was captain then. Before leaving, Vajpayee sent him a message. He said, don't just win matches, win hearts too. Now, we don't know about hearts, but India did win both the series. After 2004, 3 more tours were organized. Things were looking good until 2008. That's when Pakistani terrorists attacked Mumbai. So once again, cricket was cancelled. And since then, very little has changed. Pakistan last toured India in 2012. India last visited Pakistan for the Asia Cup in 2008. This year too, Pakistan is hosting the Asia Cup, but the Indian team is not travelling. The Indian Cricket Board says it is not safe. So India's matches are in Sri Lanka, including the one against Pakistan. Looking back, the India-Pakistan rivalry has been like no other. The pressure, the politics, the emotions, all of it is unmatched. So is the viewership. India and Pakistan clashed in the 2019 World Cup. Guess how many people watched that match? 273 million. Take any tournament, chances are India-Pakistan is the main event. Even politicians know this. They've used cricket matches for diplomacy. Like in 1987, Pakistan's President Zia-ul-Haq visited Jaipur for an India-Pakistan match. Also in 2011, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh invited his Pakistani counterpart to Mohali. It was a blockbuster contest. India versus Pakistan in the World Cup semi-finals. This rivalry has been called many things, like cricket's El Clasico or war without fighting. And yes, politics is a big part of it. People feel so emotional because there is bad blood from the partition, from the border clashes, and from the terrorism. All of it. But once the game begins, it's all about the moment.